man-eating tomatoes, humanoid pigs versus devils, a Double Dare knockoff, Tim Curry. All in the first year of Fox Kids. Now I've seen plenty of video essays about the history of Fox Kids. After all, defunct TV stuff is a goldmine of nostalgia content, but there's a big focus on the popular shows that aired on the block. You know, Buttman, Sexman, Digitmen, Morphine Dangers, Nymphomaniacs, Siegfried and Roy, you know, all the classics. Video essayists tend to gloss over the creation of Fox Kids, treating it more like a footnote in history rather than a pivotal time in some kids' lives. But I want to focus on that inaugural season, because I was there when the magic was written and so on. Hey, this is a good look for me. Well, as you'll see, a lot of that magic was actually a curse. To better appreciate the drama behind the formation of Fox Kids, to really savor that TBT, I've got to teach you some TV broadcasting terminology. And I'll do it in a way that is easy to follow and respects the intelligence of my viewers. Hey kids, it's your friend, Bag. I'd like to introduce you to the exciting regurgitation factory that is network programming. Never mind, can't see what I'm doing down there. Anyways, a TV network is a central broadcaster that distributes programming around the country. Think ABC, CBS, NBC. TV networks are limited on how many TV stations they can own, and so they franchise their programming to third-party stations around the country. These are called affiliate stations, and they pay an affiliation fee to be an affiliate. Why be an affiliate? Because networks have the budget and resources to produce hot shows that make line go up. The thing most people don't realize is that networks only broadcast on their affiliates for a few hours a day, typically an hour-long morning show and 8 to 11 at night. Everything else you see is either locally produced or what is called syndicated programming. Syndicated programs are shows created by a production company and licensed out to individual TV stations for air. But more often, licenses are sold to big companies that own multiple TV stations, and those syndicated programs will air on those stations. Some network shows can even go into syndication, which is why you'll see NBC's Seinfeld on a Fox affiliate, or Fox's The Simpsons on an ABC affiliate. But not all stations are affiliates. Some are independent and produce their own content, or rely on syndication. Others are owned by a network directly. These are called owned and operated stations, or O&Os, which sounds like you're saying Oreo like an idiot. Because networks are limited to how many stations they can own, owned and operated stations are typically reserved for large designated market areas, such as New York or Los Angeles. So to put it briefly, O&Os and DMAs like NY and LA. Get it? Got it? Good. Okay, this fulfills my SEC compliance educational material. Stamp it.
Okay, who's the bonehead who broke the film?
For decades, many studios had attempted to combat the Big Three by starting their own major TV network. Barry Diller attempted it with Paramount in the 1970s, but it wasn't until newspaper mogul Rupert Murdoch purchased a majority share in the holdings company that owned 20th Century Fox that Big Bad Number 4 could get off the ground and on the air. In 1985, Murdoch's News Corporation bought stations from broadcasting company Metro Media, including KTTV in Los Angeles. Keep an eye on this one. Barry Diller left Paramount to become the head of Fox Broadcasting, and the network had its official premiere on April 5th, 1987. The network gained a reputation as having cooler, edgier programming like Married with Children, The Tracy Ullman Show, and 21 Jump Street. This ain't your granddaddy's network. I mean, now it is because it's old as hell. Don't get me started on that geezer brain rot channel. Meanwhile, the newly appointed Disney CEO, Michael Eisner, made a push for more Disney animation on network TV. This led to the Gummy Bears on NBC, the Wuzzles on ABC, and THC Gummies lead to Wuzzles and ZEV. Hold on, I gotta lie down a minute. The next production entered syndication in 1987, and that production was DuckTales. Hit the like button if you just said woohoo. According to the book Disney Wars, which is like the fucking Bible for YouTubers talking about Michael Eisner, Eisner and Diller had formed a camaraderie during their time at Paramount, and thus worked out a deal. DuckTales would run on first-time syndication on Fox stations. That includes the O&Os and affiliates. DuckTales proved to be a hit, combating the low-budget, uninspired children's animation littering the screens at the time. A year later, Disney began production on another series, Chip 'n Dale Power Rangers, or whatever it's called, and merged all these shows together to form the Disney Afternoon programming block. However, at the same time, Disney had bought Los Angeles independent station KHJ-TV, renaming it KCAL TV, and took broadcasting rights of the Disney afternoon away from Fox O&O station KTTV. DuckTales was a big draw for a valuable demographic, impressionable 80s children who want everything they see on TV.
Gotta have that, Mama, can I buy that?
So you can imagine, Fox was pissed at the breach of contract, and Dillard became killer no filler and dropped DuckTales from all the other O&O stations, and demanded that affiliates do the same. They did not. So, knowing that Fox needed to remain competitive in the field of children's programming and rake in that sugary cereal money, the Fox Children's Network launched on September 8th, 1990. The CEO of Marvel Productions, Margaret Loesch, was hired as division president, and she really elevated the programming block into the pantheon of TV legends. But the first year was really more of a rough draft.
Join us!
1990 was a very unique year for children's programming, and it all had to do with the Federal Communication Commission's regulations. And listen, I know this video is about Saturday morning cartoons and Zip Zap Bam and all that, and I'm sitting here yapping about bureaucracy, but stick with me, Stickly. It gets interesting. In the 1960s, a group of concerned parents formed the nonprofit Action for Children's Television, which just gives, oh, won't somebody think of the children? What were they so panicked about? The violent and sex-addled escapades of Romper Room?
With liberty and justice for all.
Okay, they didn't have a problem with Romper Room itself. However, advertisements ran during the program for toys and products carrying the Romper Room branding, almost looking like they were part of the show itself. ACT worried that children wouldn't be able to differentiate between entertainment and advertising, and yeah, they have a point. Taking advantage of impressionable children to market products is kind of a scumbag move. Not to let all these Helen Lovejoys off the hook here, their campaigning for nonviolent TV got some pretty rad action shows cancelled, such as Space Ghost, The Galaxy Trio, and Super President. Yeah, that last one's a real thing. He has executive powers. His sidekick is Jerry. Oh my god, this sucks so bad it rules. By the 1970s, the National Association of Broadcasters revised its policies to limit advertising during youth programming to 12 minutes per hour. Slow burn progress, I guess? But then the 1980s happened. Mark Fowler, appointed to the FCC by Ronald Reagan, deregulated the guidelines around advertising, believing that the free market should determine broadcasting content and that it's up to the parents to decide what a child is allowed to see. Thus, 80s cartoons became 30-minute advertisements for toys and video games, and most parents didn't do shit about it. Think Transformers, He-Man, My Little Pony, G.I. Joe, Captain N, a fucking Rubik's Cube? Ew, look at this horrible little man. All of these were made on the cheap, and they looked the part. Many network cartoons of the 80s were accused of being either violent, brainless slop or ooey gooey cutesy brainless slop. Even cartoons that weren't diabolically designed around a toy line were not immune to mass marketing. But hey, what's the worst that could happen? A whole generation of Anglo-Saxon males grow up thinking that their self-worth revolves around being catered to and that any deviation toward diversity or equity is some kind of attack on the genetic homogeny of their demographic and is thus an existential threat to their superficial identity that coagulated over years of retail consumption? Ha! Bloody likely. Nonetheless, ACT pushed the next administration into doing away with these serialized commercials. Wrapped around cereal commercials. With rapping.
I'm the master rapper and I'm here to sing.
I'm a real fly bitch, you ain't coach ho.
The FCC under George Herbert Walker Texas Ranger Bush passed the Children's Television Act in 1990, which limited advertising to children and required the inclusion of educational content. Of course, the definition of educational was rather vague over the years. Seabear teaches Jamal not to put out a diss track if he can't protect his neck. Fuck it, that's educational. Stamp it. This fulfills our FCC compliance to educational material. So, entering into this era of re-regulated children's programming, Fox knew that it couldn't rely on the old formula of colorful characters sell toys, which sells more show. That would come later. And instead, Margaret Loesch banked on the new trend of artist-led content. One of the pioneers of this trend had been Ralph Bakshi's Mighty Mouse: The New Adventures on CBS in 1988, which strayed away from the marketing in favor of zany antics that made all those classic cartoons so timeless. At the same time, Nickelodeon began production on Ren and Stimpy and Rugrats, which led to the era of Nicktoons. Cartoon Network, owned by Ted Turner, had bought the entire Hanna-Barbera catalog and introduced classic cartoons to younger viewers, while reintroducing adults to their childhood favorites. The brash commercialization of Saturday mornings had fallen out of style. A bunch of art school weirdos had taken over, and the Fox Children's Network, now renamed Fox Kids Network, was promoting the hell out of their new dynamic lineup. So what was on the menu?
Saturday morning, it always long. Vietnam!
First of all, it's important to note that between the Fox Network's inception in 1987 and the premiere of Fox Kids in 1990, many affiliates did broadcast children's programming. These were all syndicated programs like Muppet Babies, George of the Jungle, and the Super Mario Super Brothers Super Show thing. Do the Mario! But Fox Kids programming itself was wildly different, and I think we should start with the most lucrative show at the time, Bobby's World. Now, imagine being an 11-year-old at a birthday party. You're happily eating your slice of cake and then you start choking. Through gasps of air, you call for help, but your squeaky voice makes everyone laugh. That's basically the story behind Bobby's World.
I was at a birthday party, I was choking on a piece of cake and I couldn't breathe. It was halfway down my throat. That's the sound that was coming out of me. It was halfway down, I couldn't breathe. I was going, help me! Can't breathe! What the fuck are you laughing at? I was dying.
Comedian Howie Mandel, first known to the wider world as Dr. Wayne Fiskus on Saint Elsewhere, honed that wacky death rattle through his stand-up comedy shows, forming the persona Bobby.
And then my mommy comes in the room, and she says, Bobby. So I say, what?
He would later use that voice for Skeeter on the Muppet Babies.
It's the exact same voice as Bob.
Bobby and Skeeter. Skeeter? Bobby.
And a variation of it for Dr. Bunsen in Animal. Then he took it to the big screen where he voiced Gizmo in the Gremlins movie.
Skeeter? Bobby? Gizmo.
But fellow comedians Jim Stahl and Jim Fisher convinced Mandel to present the Bobby character to Fox Kids. They used stories from their own childhood, told in big dramatic ways to describe how bizarre the world seemed as a kid. The down-to-earth storylines, mixed with Bobby's wild imagination, won the executives over. And that became the very soul of this show. At its core, it's a slice-of-life comedy from the perspective of a child who's just experiencing the world.
How about a cup?
No thanks, I'm not thirsty.
Also allows for fantastical and radically outrageous segments. And as a kid who didn't always, understand figures of speech, seeing them personified by Bobby's imagination was a real treat. Here's the house so clean that it sings. You know, whimsical shit like that. The show, of course, stars Bobby Generic.
Generic.
I'm sure that joke won't get old. As for the other characters, there's Bobby's dad, Howard, who is also played by Mandel, but using his regular voice.
He said, whether you win or lose. Just always wear your cup, Bobby.
There's his mother, Martha. Why did you say her name?
Maybe you should spend some time with your father.
That means I don't have to help clean up.
His Valley Girl sister Kelly, his older brother Derek, and fun-loving Uncle Ted, who is played by Tino Insana, for whom the character is actually based. Okay, you see, Insana was the third man in the Graduates comedy trio, along with Stahl and Fisher, the two Jims. You know, I always had the feeling that Uncle Ted was like some sort of pre-established character, kind of like how Bobby was formed in Mandel's stand-up routines, but I didn't think he was just like an actual person. That's just wild to me.
Time for noogies!
Also, let's not forget the absolute 90s icon Jackie, Bobby's friend from school. This girl waxes poetic in a monotone about all the wisdom she learns from trash TV.
When you get in trouble, maybe nobody will be there to help you. Anyway, that's what my mom said Oprah said.
And with those floor-length pigtails, girl has it going on. We all need a Jackie in our lives. Or maybe you are the Jackie in someone's life. Leave a like if you're a Jackie. I won't go further into this series because I plan on doing a deep dive on one of the more intriguing episodes, but I'll sum it up by saying that Bobby's World was a hit for blending creative, zany humor with everyday issues that a child might face. And the cartoon wasn't afraid of confronting heavier topics like bullying, crime, pregnancy, absentee parents, and even death. It was refreshing to see a cartoon that respected the intelligence of its young viewers without losing the whimsy of imagination. Bobby's World helped set a gold standard at the new network, showing what kind of entertainment children's programming can be capable of. And then the tomatoes attacked.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. You've never seen anything like it.
I watched the movie Attack of the Killer Tomatoes and thought, this would make a good children's cartoon. Said no one ever. But it got made anyways, god damn it. In case you're uncultured, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes is a 1978 political thriller about the effect of the Cold War on the national psyche. Oh, no, wait, it's about killer tomatoes.
Threat of nature's perfect eating machine, the killer tomato.
That's right, man-eating or man-smothering tomatoes. And yes, it's a comedy. A straight-up parody of those 1950s B-movies where some unlikely fiend develops an appetite for destruction. With a nonsense storyline, over-the-top acting, and meta-humor, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes became a hit in the weirdo movie scene. Often you'll find it paired with the 1988 flick Killer Clowns from Outer Space, but that is yet to get a cartoon adaptation. Yet. Then, in 1986, live-action clips from Killer Tomatoes were used in an episode of Muppet Babies. It's like the third time this cartoon's come up, it can't escape its orbit. To be specific, the episode was titled The Weirdo Zone and involved Fozzie battling the silly tomatoes, which hurl themselves at bad comedians. Hold on, let me go make sure my windows are locked. The episode proved to be a hit, one of the most viewed in the whole series. My prediction is that the Weirdo Zone really allowed the show to go wild with its absurd humor and Dadaist art direction, and it has a nice message about all of us having a little weirdness inside. But for some reason, the studio thought that the success of the episode was due to the Killer Tomatoes segments. So, at the time, New World Pictures owned Marvel Productions. Marvel Productions owned Muppet Babies, hence that scary Spider-Man at the end of the episode. Psst, you wanna know a secret? I didn't know who Spider-Man was in the late 80s. I mean, there wasn't like a movie or a cartoon or anything, so I didn't know what the hell this thing was. He's scary looking. Looks like that jump scare alien from Signs. So New World Pictures, seeing the success of that episode, made a deal with the producers of Killer Tomatoes to make a sequel, and in 1988, Return of the Killer Tomatoes rolled into theaters. It tells the timeless tale of a mad scientist raising an army of tomatoes to conquer the world. It's one of Joseph Campbell's archetypes, every generation has one. With John Astin as Professor Gangrene and a young George Clooney as some guy, the film follows a tomato who is turned into a totally bodacious babe who teams up with a fuzzy tomato dog and a pizza boy to save the world from the mad doctor and his yuppie pervert. Another of Joseph Campbell's archetypes.
Sir, do you recognize any of the victims? Mommy. Tough break, kid.
The success of the movie led New World to create an animated series in the extended universe of Killer Tomatoes. Of course, the main characters were aged down into teenagers, and the tomatoes were slightly less violent to fit into TV standards. Of the cast, only John Astin returned as Mortimer Gangrene, renamed Putrid T. Gangrene for some reason. The cartoon retains the fourth wall-breaking humor that gave the movie its pizzazz.
I am the evil genius on this show, and I give the orders!
In this exciting adventure, Pizza Boy Chad Finletter and Tomato Girl Tara work at Uncle Wilbur's Tomatoless Pizzeria while thwarting the diabolical plans of Gangrene and Igor. Whereas the films were parodies of 50s monster movies, the series felt like a parody of 80s adventure cartoons. You know, those cartoons where a team of ultra heroes battle against an army of thugs, all drawn in a slightly more realistic style. Things like Inhumanoids, Centurions, or Spiral Zone. Now, those were a fucking nightmare. But instead of armored marines blasting away mutant zombies, we got Skater Boy versus vegetables. Fruits. Later Boy. And don't forget the Killer Tomato Task Force, each sold synaptically. You wouldn't think that a film so refined as Attack of the Killer Tomatoes would translate into a children's cartoon, but after rewatching a few episodes, I'm happy to be proven wrong. You see, this had been an era of cartoons adapted from adult franchises. Rambo, RoboCop, Police Academy. But those were mainstream brands kids had become aware of through advertising and pop culture. They were everywhere. For instance, at the age of 5, I had never seen an Alien movie, but I still thought the Xenomorph was like the coolest thing ever. Still do. Wish list. So a cartoon based on aliens would have won me over. Killer Tomatoes, on the other hand, was a niche cult hit. It wasn't doing Batman numbers or anything, so it's surprising that the cartoon did as well as it did. But I suppose the wacky, weird, and overstimulating energy of the world building did offer a lot for a cartoon. The first season actually has decent animation, thanks to South Korean studio ACOM, who worked on a lot of Saturday morning cartoons from this era. Lots of deep shadows and smooth action help convey the dichotomy of silliness taken seriously. But the second season changed everything. Production was moved to American Film Technologies, who had never actually produced a cartoon series, but instead mostly worked with Ted Turner to colorize classic films. Oh yeah, everyone hated that. The company had decided to go paperless with its animation, a thing that it was largely unheard of. Hanna-Barbera had used computers to color backgrounds and props, but that studio still used paper and pens for actual animation. Not AFT. They went full computer and even made Killer Tomatoes the first network cartoon to utilize CGI animation. And how did that turn out? Not great. Not great. To be fair, it's not unsalvageable, but compared to the ACOM animation of Season 1, it's just jittery and flat and gives me the ugh. I feel like I'm looking at one of those low-budget CD-ROM games. In addition to the wretched animation, the episodes were no longer episodic. Instead, they told an unfolding narrative about the tomatoes taking over the world, mutinying against gangrene, and the ongoing battle to turn the tides. I will say, few cartoons at the time were serialized like this. Often networks preferred self-contained stories so they could show the episodes in any damn order they wanted. So I will salute them for having the audacity to try something different. But did it pay off? Not really. Season 2 was 8 episodes long and was soon after cancelled, leaving the storyline unresolved. AFT lost $3 million on the production and later filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy after realizing that no one likes Ted Turner's fucking Crayolas. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes would return in reruns around 1996, acting like it was some new series. Come on, you ain't fooling nobody. I was there. And I think it has maintained a positive legacy, a surprise hit from an unlikely origin. Also, I can't play it for copyright reasons, but the theme song is a banger. A reworking of the theme song from the movie, but enough of Killer Fruit. Let's move on to Killer Cats. Kittens.
It's the Tom and Jerry Kids.
Ah yes, Tom and Jerry Kids. In the long tradition of infantilizing classic characters, we get slightly smaller versions of the cat and mouse duo.
Phew.
What can I say? You seen Tom and Jerry? It's that. But kids. For kids. Not by kids. Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't fuck with this show. It annoyed me. In Tom and Jerry Kids, the main duo remains speechless, but they're joined by a plethora of other characters who just won't shut up. Like this fuck-ass cat, or this stupid rat, or this horrid squirrel. I hate them so much.
Calaboose Cal of the Calaboose Cal Mouse Raster Company.
I'll brand that ignoramus on his behind leg.
Never pick on helpless and petite creatures.
Cartoons were short, thankfully, usually packed 3 per half-hour episode, a couple of Tom and Jerry sandwiching a Droopy cartoon. And I will say that the Droopy cartoons were actually funny. I mean, how could you go wrong with Droopy?
Let's get moving, Dripple. Ready to go, Pop.
Whereas most cartoon characters are running around yelling and smashing things, Deadpan Dan over here is zonked out on Zoloft. And he brought his son along, Dripple. You know, the existence of Dripple implies that either Droopy had a divorce or his wife fucking died. Either is horrible to think about. I don't think either of them has actually recovered from it. Okay, well, I think I made this a little needlessly dark. The Droopy shorts were Droopy shorts. The Droopy cartoons revolve around Droopy and Dribble running afoul of the big bad wolf while wooing the Tex Avery redhead Miss Baboom. These at least had charm in my opinion because Droopy's dry personality clashes with the wackiness of the atmosphere.
Exciting, isn't it?
And though the Tom and Jerry segments sometimes had their heart, I just remember them as a whole bunch of background noise.
What do you gotta say for yourself?
Despite my objections, the show lasted 4 seasons, and Droopy and Dripple would eventually get a short-lived spin-off based on Droopy's detective persona. But that came years later. Let's return to 1990 with something I swear I've never heard of before. This is what I call a Mandela Effect show. I swear I watched Fox Kids in the first year, and I do not remember Piggsburg Pigs at all. Oh, I'm sorry, Piggsburg. So any opinions I have about this cartoon will be newly formed over the past week after I watched every episode.
Are you okay?
Pretty hungry.
Piggsburg Pigs is a 13-episode series produced by Ruby Spears. Ah yes, Ruby Spears, that sparky offspring of Hanna-Barbera. The thing about Ruby Spears Productions is that I always love their art. Just take a look at Fangface and Goldie Gold, Punky Brewster, Dink, the Centurions, all beautiful works of art on their own, but not always the best in motion. But the tunes were charming, and you can excuse some lackluster animation if the premise and writing are fun. So what about Pinellas Pigs? Well, first I should probably tell you what the show is all about, and let me preface it by saying it took me by surprise. Now, I don't often do this, but I'm gonna just read the Wikipedia description and you try to pinpoint where everything goes off the rails. Located behind the world's largest pig farm, the city of Piggsburg is a swine-only habitat. Here, the Bacon Brothers, Bo, Portly, and Pighead, as well as their pet duck Quackers, fight the evil plans of the hungry carnivorous wolf brothers Huff and Puff, as well as the supernatural forces from the Forbidden Zone. So, that's a little out of place. These little piggy characters in their little piggy town having fun, avoiding the wolves, dealing with teenager problems, battling Hellspawn in the Nightmare Dimension.
Whoops, it's occupied.
And it's not a one-off Halloween special. Every episode involves an intrusion of trick-or-treat skeet. And I like the way the Forbidden Zone is just there, right past the post office. Imagine going to someone's house and they're like, "Oh hi, welcome to my pad. Here's the kitchen, there's the game room, there's the slow torture puke chamber, don't go in there. Can I get you a drink?" Let's see if IMDb has a better summary. Yeah. After a terrorist suicide bomb attack... What? Conducted by wolves in the city of Piggsburg, 3 young pigs are sent to help better the community of their small town and prevent additional terrorist attacks. Somebody check on your boy IMDb, it ain't doing so hot. Well, as the wiki says, this cartoon follows the Bacon brothers. I have the feeling that Bo is supposed to be the protagonist. He's got like that Anglo-Saxon Protestant physique that all these 90s main characters are built upon, but he's just so bland. Not that any of these characters have much depth, but Bo is the least distinguished. His brother Portly, and you'll never guess which one that is, has a more defined personality. He's brave but inept, cunning but sloppy, friendly but hot-headed. And the third brother, Pighead, great name by the way, is a loyal but dumb galoot. A real lummox, absolute maroon, but not good-looking enough to be a himbo. Or would that be a hambo? Yeah. But of the pigs, Portly and Pighead are the most fleshed out and memorable.
I think we're out of gas, Portly.
No fooling.
Probably because they're just ripoffs of Jackie Gleason and Art Carney. Then again, who isn't? Then there's the rich bastard friend Rembrandt Proud Pork. Kind of a mix between Steve Sanders and Montana Max. And there's a couple girls. They have names. Lauralee, the It Girl, and Dottie, the Silver Medal. There's also a pet duck named Quackers that the pigs use as a multi-tool, and it just gives me weird vibes of animal abuse, so I'm gonna move on. Then there's the wolves, Huff and Puff. A big and a small, a smart and a dumb. And yes, they are also ripoffs of Gleason and Carney. That's 2 in 1 show. Amazing work here. In most episodes, the wolves don't even pose a real threat. They just kind of show up, have dialogue that sounds like bah, 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 and then they die and go to hell. Far more interesting is the Forbidden Zone. Okay, so I can't find any interviews or production notes on this pig show specifically, but I did get the vibe that 2 different cartoons were merged into one. Or that this cartoon was pitched as like Smurfs but with pigs, and Ruby and Spears, who, remember, created Scooby-Doo at Hanna-Barbera Studios, were like, add monsters. Kids love monsters. So the show is giving Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, where the monsters are real. And the monsters do have some frightening designs. No, really. They should totally be in another series, fighting Thunder the Barbarian, not teenage pig bags. I think my favorite is the one where Rembrandt wishes for a girlfriend, but ends up summoning this ghoul who becomes obsessed with him. She's genuinely frightening, but kinda doing it for me.
Why, you look fine.
It's the confidence. I like the confidence.
Hiya, Toots. Say, didn't we meet at the Forbidden Zone Bog Buffet?
Go away.
We stand a strong, independent ghoul. I mentioned earlier that I tend to love the character designs of Ruby Spears cartoons, and this is no exception. Pigs have a cute look, especially the cloven hoof shoe detail. That's pretty clever. And the monsters are rightfully intimidating. But once the characters start moving and talking, things fall apart. The animation is rough. Man, it'd be great if these characters were dogs. That pun would have landed. Now let's take this example. A bucket ends up at the top of this pole, but when it falls, the pole is suddenly like 50 feet long. There's cartoon logic, but then there's just bad production. Also, the writing suffers from like forced zaniness. A simple action turns into hullabaloo not because it's funny and well-timed with proper build-up, but because nothing visually stimulating has happened in a while. And this in turn makes the gag not funny. Ow! Oh! Ah! That was so random and wacky. But don't worry, it was a light injury.
Oh, brother, this guy...
It's all bangers, that's right. Ugh. Sure are a lot of uggos in here. With flat characters, bland humor, and a total tonal disharmony, and bad animation all around, I'm not surprised that Pinkerington Pigs had been sent to the slaughterhouse. Which is a shame, because visually it had promise. At first I thought I'd found some lost gem, but oh man, put it back, the treasure is cursed. But if you think you'll like this style, then check it out. The series is online, so pig out on all 13 episodes. Is that enough pig puns for you, fuck?
The peanut butter is flowing, and the ants are really growing. So get on your feet, we got teams to meet on today's...
We just dealt with something conceptually obnoxious. Now let's deal with something sensory obnoxious. Funhouse was a game show that aired in syndication for 2 seasons starting in 1988, and for a 3rd season exclusively on Fox Kids. Former child actor J.D. Roth cut his chops as a game show host with this series, and I think he does a fine job of corralling children into doing some bizarre and kinda grotesque stunts. The format of this show is a lot like Double Dare: trivia, physical challenges, and slopstical course finale. But unlike Double Dare, the challenges aren't dares, and they're definitely double disgusting. What am I looking at? Anyways, there are 3 stunt rounds followed by... I'm sorry, this B-roll is very distracting. Ugh, listen, Double Dare was wacky and weird, but this looks like avant-garde CrossFit from hell. This is something Caligula would come up with. Ha! Take that, Leonardo DiCaprio. Anyways, after 3 rounds of this ayahuasca Discovery Zone shit, the contestants enter the Grand Prix, where both teams run around a track as fast as their puny adolescent legs can carry them. I will mention that in the British version of this show, the kids drive little race cars around and they are so fab. This is so much cooler than whatever this is. At this point, a winner is selected and the losers are sent home with parting gifts.
The contestants also get the home game of Funhouse.
Yes, you too can relive the monumental embarrassment of losing this Double Dare ripoff in the sanctity of your own home.
Not to mention the incredible Funhouse Nintendo game, which is coming out this Christmas.
Whoa, Funhouse had a video game? What was that like? You can keep that. And the final round leads us to the Titty Funhouse. Oh, sorry, that's a titular Funhouse. You see what you want to see. Anyways, the Fuck House is an elaborate obstacle course where every set is themed to something like a mall, a zoo, a junkyard, or Toiletland? Oh, Flushing Meadows. The kids pass each challenge by retrieving a small flag which nets them a prize. If this all sounds eerily similar to Double Dare, well, that's because it is. But I'm sure Mark Summers didn't hold a grudge.
If the host of Funhouse hangs in a meat locker losing heat at the rate of 8 degrees an hour, how many degrees does he lose in 3 hours? Oh, hi there.
Fox's Funhouse only lasted the single season, whereas the ITV version lasted 11 seasons. So I guess Titty Fuckhouse was just too refined for our American tastes. And finally on that inaugural weekend, we got one of the strangest cartoons I've ever seen on Saturday morning. And I've seen some things, man. Zazu is hugely underrated. Not great, but deserving of more renowned. In fact, I think it's deserving of its own deep dive video, so that'll be coming soon. For now, I'll mention that Margaret Loesch and the Fox Kids executives pushed Zazu to the forefront of their promotions. They thought it would make the network stand out as being unique and edgy. Unfortunately, Zazu was a little too weird for kids who might not understand Franz Kafka references.
This stuff stinks. You read this, the next thing you know, you wake up a human.
As I said, this is a weird one.
Ready to order?
Oh, yeah. One meaning of life, please.
You want fries with that?
Uh-huh. I missed lunch.
What in the name of Mullinger, heifer?
Zazu only lasted 13 episodes, and after a terrible performance in the ratings, was replaced in its time slot by Peter Pan and the Pirates, which had been running on weekday afternoons. Oh, I'm sorry, hold on, it's 20th Century Fox's Peter Pan and the Pirates. Rolls off the tongue. Jan Barry would be proud. Peter Pan proud. Pirates. This cartoon also lasted only one season, but included 65 episodes that ran onward into reruns. At the time, Peter Pan existed in the public consciousness as a green bean teenager in Disney's adaptation, or as some blonde broad on Broadway, or as spreadable diabetes. In order for this adaptation to take flight, Fox had to differentiate their Pan from Disney's Pan, under threat of lawsuit. That's so Disney. As such, the characters all look very different from the eponymous movie, and NGL, I like these a whole lot better. Peter and the Lost Boys look properly feral, the Darlings look darling, and even though Tinkerbell lost her glam status, she still looks cute and sprightly. And this Captain Hook looks actually menacing. This is the face of a man who will not hesitate to murder a child. And he's voiced by Tim Curry. You know I fuck with that.
Disgrace the Jolly Roger today, scum, and I'll lay your bones bare!
I remember liking this cartoon well enough. The animation was impressive and very expensive. When Margaret Loesch came on as CEO, she had to outsource the animation to 10 studios around the world to get the season finished in time, including TMS Entertainment and ACOM, which is why the finer details are inconsistent throughout the series. And unfortunately, it does suffer from wonk every now and again. No one is perfect, but otherwise it is a charming series. What is not so charming is Peter himself.
Aw, not now, Michael. I'm talking, and no one cares about your dream.
Rotten brat is the first phrase that comes to mind. In fact, the writing all around is average. The storylines are average as well, usually just involving the pirates scheming or Pan screwing everything up for everyone without facing any repercussions for his actions. But at least the quote-unquote Indians are not the colonial caricatures of the Disney film.
It was much more peaceful before these strange people invaded my land.
Yeah, you say it, boy.
Boy!
Now let's take a listen to the opening theme. You know, it's not bad, but it feels like background music that got promoted last second to theme song. Just not catchy. It needs lyrics like, Bam! It's the adventures of Peter Pan, flying through the air without a care and no attention span. Whatever, my brain cells are eating themselves. I'm gonna go scarf down some of that terrible peanut butter. Watch it, Lamp.
Peter Pan and the Pirates premiere Saturday on Fox 5.
Now that rounds out the first Fox Kids programs, but through 1991, a few more shows were added to the roster, including the first slam dunk hit for Fox Kids, Tiny Toon Adventures. Based on the... You know what? That's all I have to say about this cartoon. It was based. No, seriously, if you've never watched Tiny Toons as a kid, you were missing out. An expert combination of slapstick, wordplay, pop culture, and nuance. It ran on syndication for 2 seasons, but moved to Fox Kids for season 3, just like Funhouse. Except with good ratings and a warm reception. However, production ended in 1992 to make way for the equally funny Animaniacs, but that's a story for another channel. Too mainstream for me. Getting back to obscure territory, another cartoon made the jump to Fox Kids in 1991, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. With the S, there's more than one. Season 1 had premiered on CBS and surprisingly retained the cast from the movies. Alex Winters and Keanu Reeves as Bill and Ted, Bernie Casey as Mr. Ryan, and George Carlin as Rufus.
I was just checking out the latest album by New Boys on the Corner, and they stink.
Unfortunately, when Season 2 was moved to Fox Kids, the entire cast was replaced with cheaper voice actors. Not to say they were bad, just less expensive than movie stars.
This looks most amusing.
The show maintained the educational time travel element, but it also gave the phone booth the ability to enter the world of literature. I would love to do that. Maybe not with my library. I will give this cartoon props for one thing. There's an episode where Mr. Radish, the wholesome host of Mr. Radish's Condominium, is disillusioned by how excessive and extreme children's entertainment has gotten, and he calls it quits. Bill and Ted travel to his set and convince the old-timer that kids still need him, that he has a lot to offer the world. Now, at a time when so much media was making fun of Mr. Rogers as being that boring old guy on public broadcasting, it was refreshing to see someone defend him, especially considering his totally radical legacy.
Party on, neighbors!
On the opposite end of the spectrum, the third and final series to premiere that year was Swamp Thing. I'll keep this short because the series was short. 5 whole episodes. Well animated, but dumb and loud, just like Mr. Radish had warned us about. But I'll give them props for one thing, that audacious excuse for a theme song.
Swamp Thing!
Oh yeah, they took Chip Taylor's Wild Thing and changed the lyrics to Swamp Thing. You are amazing. No, that is amazing, it fucking rules. So, yeah, that's a thing that exists. A Swamp Thing. But now let's talk about my favorite subject, the candy wrapper that holds all of these shows together.
We'll be right back.
That's right, my favorite subject, bumpers. Those little interstitials that announce when a commercial break begins and ends. Anyone else? Really? Okay. Well, in children's programming, these are very important. As I stated earlier, some children have difficulty distinguishing a TV program from advertising, so bumpers help separate the two. In my opinion, the most famous bumpers of all time are the ones used on ABC between 1987 and 1995, featuring these delightful Play-Doh people. The bumpers on the first year of Fox Kids were simple but charming in that Fido-Dido style of characters on a white background. I remember this line more than the others, which just rings of MGM more than 20th Century Fox. Also, there seems to be a plethora of things eating other things.
We'll be right back.
Other bumpers had a different style, like this Old West standoff. Red Dead Redenbacher. There's also this thing.
We'll be right back.
Ugh, that worm is unpleasant. I do not like it.
Now back to our program.
Speaking of unpleasant... Between 1991 and 1992, some Fox stations ran these bumpers, later dubbed Frankenfox, though the character didn't have a name. Produced by Bay Area studio Colossal Pictures, which is notable for producing MTV bumpers and Aeon Flux, the Frankenfox bumpers combine a live-action body with an animated head, a process that was time-consuming and expensive and ends up looking like this.
Listen to me and hear what I'm saying.
I have no idea what he's saying, really giving unmedicated neurodivergent improvising in front of a mirror. Not that I know anything about that. So to be honest, I don't remember these at all. My local station ran the Dynamo Duck bumpers, and those were way better than these. But I can at least appreciate how weird and stylistically chaotic they are. Ah yes, high art at its finest.
And lots more. Watch your mailbox, because Totally Kids is on the way.
Fox Kids wasn't just on TV, it was in print. Join the Fox Kids Club and you get a copy of Totally Kids magazine delivered to your doorstep. I couldn't find the first issue, but here's one from fall 1990. Thanks, Archive. Read this and exercise like alpha male J.D. Roth. Be as obnoxious as Peter Pan, play games, stare at letters, watch The Simpsons, and color in the cast of... Professor Bodywise? Ooh, I don't know this. Let's check out our new friends here. Let's see, there's Boring G. Boring. He looks thrilled to have those shake weights. There's Nikki Teen. Is that a play on words of nicotine? She looks more like marijuana. Evil the Weevil. That's a strange parody of Evel Knievel. It looks more like Kermit Puffin stuff. Then at the bottom there's Mumford and his sons Nutra Beast, Fierce Beast, and Pickle. I think Pickle's my favorite. He's got those sassy hips. I don't feel like being body-wise today. I'm gonna eat all the chocolate. Alright, this has nothing to do with anything. I was just perplexed. Apparently this is some traveling puppet show that would teach kids about healthy lifestyles, which I strongly prefer to those horrible ads where some gym bro explains how you're clinically dead because you don't eat enough protein. Sorry, bruh. I put my faith in Evil Kermit or whatever his name was. But as I mentioned, there was a kids club, and you could be a card-carrying member.
Here's my imitation of Woody Woodpecker. Ow!
The kids club was a tactic to foster brand loyalty between children and the new network. Affiliates were encouraged to start their own local kids club, establish a host, and work with businesses to offer perks for club membership. Not all affiliates jumped on the bandwagon, but larger markets saw success in roping in younger viewers with contests and giveaways. Some even had secret codes you could decipher, just like that Ovaltine nonsense.
Here it is. Boys like girls who act like this.
Really scared to know the answer to that one. No, wait, no, the code was on screen. Let's see. 5, 9, ladies? Oh, that sucks. A proper gentleman prefers his women to act like codependent ghouls from the Forbidden Zone. Duh. Before Fox Kids, at WNYW in New York, the kids block was hosted by famous felt feline DJ Cat, who started as a raunchy TV host on Sky Channel in Europe. When adapted for American audiences, he had been softened around the edges. No kitty titties for the USA. DJ Cat ended when Fox programming expanded into weekdays, but he'd left some inspiration for the kinds of antics expected around the country. Responsibilities for these kids club hosts would include taping interstitial segments, announcing contests, PSAs, and making live appearances at municipal events. Some stations even hired kids as hosts. Were you a Fox Kids child star? Did you win any Fox Kids club contests? Do you want to fight me? Put it in the comments. Personally, I grew up watching Safari Sam, played by the late Kent Lindsay in Jacksonville. He had an exuberant personality and knew how to entertain a crowd. Another of my favorites is Teresa Cassidy at KPTM. Just adorable. I live for this kind of kitsch. And she put out an album.
Teresa's I Wish I Was a Fish. On sale now at these fine stores.
Somebody get me this. I'm not joking. I want to be a fish.
It's music that makes you feel good.
If you lived in Milwaukee, you got to meet this charming fellow, Rupert. Wait, like Rupert Murdoch? Huh, interesting.
Well, if you think sea lions are cool, you're in luck.
Well, this thing is a living curse, so like this video, Rupert will show up at the foot of your bed at 3 a.m. And most ambitious of all were the stations that put on a whole-ass show for their kids' club. Safari Sam had a program called Road Trip where he'd travel around and learn stuff and deliver chaos. WTVZ, I hate call letters. WTVZ in Virginia put on Club 33, no affiliation to the Illuminati Disney restaurant. This show starred a wizard and his dead-eyed fox. Mr. Literally a wizard. You're a wizard, mister. Mr. Wizard, you're a wizard, mister.
Here's the host of Club 33, JJ Merlin.
Whoa. Is the theme song actually Depeche Mode's Just Can't Get Enough? Oh, I'm sorry, was Master and Servant not catchy enough?
Everybody's also going to get a pass to Hot Dog World.
The format is basically a Bozo the Clown show, but with random IP slapped on the walls. I do appreciate the dedication of the whole crew of Club 33 because shows like that are actually hard to put on. This show is hard enough to put on, it's just me in front of a damn wall. Now, I could, of course, go on all day listing all the Fox Kids clubs and hosts around the country, but my speedball is starting to wear off, so I'll wrap this video up with some insightful bullshit while inspirational music plays. Are you a leg guy? Are you an S guy? Are you a legacy guy? Oh shit, is that recorded? It's important to note that scheduling in these early years were not entirely dictated by the network. It was up to affiliates to decide when Fox Kids programming would air. Some stations designated the middle of the day as the appropriate time for kids programming, so that they wouldn't lose advertising dollars. Others refused Fox Kids altogether, thinking that children's programming was a waste of time and a loss of advertising. That all changed in 1992, when Margaret Loesch approved of a new series that was dark, melodramatic, and very expensive. Few executives had faith in this new show, but despite their objections, it became a runaway hit. Batman, Batman, and the rest is history. Fox Kids went on to be a leader in the ratings, producing some of the most successful shows in children's programming. But it's always important to remember where it all started. A bunch of risks and the willingness to try something different. And listen, I know it sounds like I've spat upon the legacy of 80s cartoons in this video. Maybe I did, but it's not like they weren't works of art driven by passionate creators. And some of my favorite shows were those shallow 80s properties that coagulated in the bog of unregulated capitalism. That's fine. Yet the purpose of this video, aside from wasting your time, is to pinpoint a moment in TV history when creativity and weirdness breached the mainstream. The network's launch changed the broadcasting landscape, and many of the shows that we enjoy today would not have come about if not for these debut programs. Maybe not Funhouse, you can go stand in the corner. And as I have always stated on this show, rediscovering and reconnecting with the vintage materials of your youth are an important step in assessing the person that you are today, and tracking your metamorphosis from wee little Bobby Generic to big, strong Evil the Weevil. Be proud of who you are because you are a culmination of your many amazing experiences. Although some of those experiences including watching a pig get assaulted by a skinless monstrosity.
You don't want to go with me?
Therapy is also an option. Thanks for hanging in my club. I've been wanting to make this video for a very long time since, I grew up on all this crap. So hit the like and subscribe and stay tuned for the Zazu U video. Oh, not again! Oh.
Bye-bye.